What's up everyone, James here. So Predator Badlands is one of the greatest Predator movies of all time. I saw it opening weekend and I thoroughly enjoyed it. This is a one-shot comic that is a prequel to the film, and the director of Predator Badlands, Dan Trachtenberg, helped develop this story as a story consultant, making sure the story weaved seamlessly together with the film. I will mention details that are established right at the very beginning of the movie, but that's it. I want to avoid spoiling the movie for any of you that haven't seen it yet. What this one shot does is set up the young Predator we follow in Badlands, named Dek, his backstory and his relationship with his family and clan. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get into it. So this opens with a video log of this insectoid looking alien species on their spaceship. The language the pilot of the ship is speaking is called Kashoric. It might also be the name of their home planet, we never find out. The pilot, with what I assume is her child, is speaking to the computer's super AI, informing it of its new mission parameters. I'm calling it super AI because it really is that hypothetical form of AI that surpasses human intelligence. You'll see that as the story progresses. The pilot instructs the AI that its new mission will be to oversee the crew until the ship reaches the location where their colony will be established. Her child interrupts, asking the computer to be its friend, and it answers that it accepts the terms. The child responds to that, saying that it will take the computer's acceptance of their friendship as a sacred oath. This sacred oath seems to be something unique to their species, something that's a part of their culture. 5 days later, the pilot frantically speaks to the ship's AI again, telling it to initiate crash protocols because the ship is damaged due to an asteroid debris field they encountered. She informs it that a distress call has been sent, and all of the crew are heading toward the cryotubes. She asks the AI to watch over them until a rescue party can come. The video log ends, and the ship's AI enters hibernation mode, with one goal. It states, "Sacred Oath, protect friend." The story then transitions to 10,000 years later, with Dek and his older brother Quay, on this moon called Pelkin 4, where the alien ship crash landed. Dek's mission, given to him by his father, is to retrieve a specific piece of technology on the ship, and we'll see what that is in a second. Now, he isn't happy about it because he would rather be on a hunt so he can achieve blooded status and earn his cloak. For those of you who are unaware, blooded status is a rite of passage for the Yautja species, marking a young hunter's successful completion of their first hunt and their transition to a fully recognized adult hunter. The cloak that I'm referring to is the Yautja's light-bending adaptive camouflage, which they wear, giving them a form of invisibility, or at least translucence. Either way, the cloak makes them incredibly hard to spot. Dek mentions to Quay that their father doesn't see his worth. So whereas Dek and Quay have a close relationship, Dek and his father don't, because Dek was born underdeveloped compared to the average Yautja. He is the runt of the litter, so he is viewed by his father and the clan as weak and is treated as an outcast. Despite that, his father is allowing him to prove himself with this mission. Fun fact, in the first treatment for the Badlands script, Dek was originally going to be born blind. Dan was initially going for the blind, lone, samurai type of feel. He specifically mentions like the Book of Eli. I have a link to the interview where he talks about that in the pinned comment below. Quay urges Dek to be patient and to just complete the mission. He drops Dek off near the ship and leaves. As Dek heads toward the ship, the computer's AI detects him and awakens out of its hibernation mode. It receives a transmission of Dek, meant to be a warning, and the AI can't detect where it came from. Don't forget this because we'll find out where it did by the end of the video, but I'm sure some of you have already figured out what's going on here. The AI analyzes the image and determines that Dek is a Yautja. It reviews footage of a previous predator attacking an armed squadron of the people of Kashoric, and it does a full threat assessment and begins to develop Yautja defenses. Dek enters the ship and reviews the schematics of the piece of tech his father wants him to get, which is revealed to be some sort of power core. Suddenly, one of the ship's drones attacks him. He dodges its attacks and uses his biohelmet to analyze it, but he realizes it's useless when it comes to machines. So he removes his helmet to get a clear sight of it. He fires his bow, destroying the drone's head. He then does the Yautja thing and roars into the sky when they are victorious against an opponent. He continues to traverse the ship, and the ship's AI detects that Dek is approaching the crew's cryotubes. It calculates a new strategy and releases these pheromone spores that cover Dek. The spores attract these insects that reside on this moon. They swarm Dek, cutting and biting into his body. They eventually cover every inch of his body. He uses his shoulder whip to pull himself out. He fires on the insects with his wrist gauntlet, taking them out. Once he's back on the ship, an array of aerial drones attacks him. He dodges their attacks, whips out his combi stick, and hurls it at them, piercing all 3 of them in a row. The AI recognizes its preliminary measures have failed and activates something called the Yautja killer protocol. The door that leads to the cryotubes begins to close, and Dek runs towards it, and he manages to slide in before it closes. He looks over the crew in the cryotubes and wonders what species they are. He points out how they look weak and aren't worth killing. Out of nowhere, he gets punched so hard that he's sent flying. Dek comes face to face with a robot designed to look like a Yautja. It actually looks pretty badass. The AI downloads its consciousness into the robot and states that it must protect the creators. Dek notices the power core his father seeks is in the robot's chest. He leaps towards the robot Yautja, and the fight begins. The AI is assuming that Dek's mission is to annihilate the crew. That's why it's been so adamant to take him down and keep its sacred oath. The fight goes back and forth. When Dek manages to pierce the throat of the Yautja robot, it responds by punching him back. The AI states that that blow would have killed most life forms, but Dek gets back up like it was nothing. Dek says, "I will not fail my mission." The robot Yautja whips out its own combi stick and says it cannot fail and repeats its mission parameters. Protect the crew, protect friend. The robot Yautja with its combi stick and its huge wrist blade that looks awesome, and Dek with his sword and wrist blades go head to head. They trade attacks until the robot Yautja pierces the cryotube's controls. This opens the cryotubes, and the AI sees that the crew is already dead. It detects that the life support system degraded over time. It holds the body of the child that it made the sacred oath to, apologizing that it failed its sacred oath. Dek, holding the robot Yautja's huge wrist blade, destroys it. As he is leaving the ship with the power core, the AI states that it cannot allow him to leave with its creator's technology, even though it also states that the probability is greater than 0 that the Yautja could trace it back to its creator's home planet. It still decides to activate the ship's self-destruct protocol. One of the explosions sends Dek flying out of the ship and over a cliff. He loses the power core in the process. He slows his descent by stabbing his blade into the cliffside. Once on the ground, his brother shows up, but he refuses to leave without the power core. As the explosion intensifies, Quay tells him that there's no time. When Dek says, "You should not have returned for me," Quay replies, "You saved me before, brother. We protect each other." They successfully escape the blast and leave on their ship. Later, Dek meets with his father, who, to no surprise, is pissed with him. He says, "You have failed to bring the item home, as I knew you would." When Dek tries to speak, his father grips him by the throat and begins to choke him, while saying, "Every breath you still draw brings embarrassment to our clan, runt." He pushes Dek up against a monitor while saying, "Get out of my sight." Notice that that monitor has the same image of Dek that was in the transmission the AI on the Kashoric ship received. So Dek's mission wasn't an opportunity to prove himself. It was a setup. Dek's father was trying to get him killed. As Dek leaves the ship, he says, "I will be blooded. I will bring honor to the clan. That is my oath." That's the end of the Predator Badlands prequel. I hope you all enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel and go see Predator Badlands. Other than that, have an awesome day, and always remember every day to go beyond.